Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. And today I welcome James Benefico to the show. So James is the co-founder and CEO of Organic Muscle, a USDA organic supplement company that has served over 100,000 customers and launched nationwide in Vitamin Shoppe. He's a natural bodybuilder and entrepreneur passionate about fitness, clean nutrition, and building businesses that make a real impact. Welcome to the show today, James. Glad to have you.
Johnny, it's awesome to be here.
Awesome. So yeah, James, be great to hear. I love what you're doing with like supplements and really wanting to promote more health in the world. I'm a big fan, both physically and mentally. Of the health benefits. Don't get it always right, but always learning, always wanting to grow. But yeah, I would love to know a little bit about how you got into this area of like organic supplements, how you're so like passionate about fitness, about nutrition, and yeah, your own journey into that. Has that always been something you've been passionate about, or?
Well, I think I was passionate more about food for a long time, being a kind of a fat kid growing up. I was also athletic. I was a lineman in American football. So I was big and strong, but I mean, I had a tummy. I had a gynecomastia. Do you know what that is? It's like man boobs. That's the medical term for man boobs. So it really affected my confidence a lot. Like there were several years where I would keep my shirt on at the pool and stuff. And really a big wake up moment for me was in my early 20s when I was overweight, and then my mom also got cancer. So dealing with her diagnosis and, the subsequent hospital visits and treatments was really impactful on me, especially one day we went in for her chemo and she's recovering from chemotherapy in the hospital. And the nurses came in and brought her meal, and it was a Coca-Cola. It was some kind of soda and a cheeseburger and chips. So that moment, I just intuitively, I didn't know a lot about nutrition, but intuitively I was like, this doesn't seem like what you should feed someone who's fighting for their life with stage 4 cancer, right? So I confronted her doctor when he came in and said, hey, can't we feed her like some healthy food? Why are we feeding her fast food essentially? And this guy was he was a doctor, but he was extremely unhealthy. He had like really unhealthy skin. He was maybe 100 pounds overweight. And I said this to him and he scoffed at me. He literally like shooed me away, go away, little boy. You don't know what you're talking about. So that kind of pissed me off. And after that experience, I really started researching nutrition a lot for my mom and for myself, because I was really heartbroken by what I saw that day in the hospital. And I was just feeling terrible about my own body.
Oh, that is quite a big emotional charge for you to kind of like look at for both your mum and for yourself as well. So yeah,
Yes.
you went into and then you started your like own supplement company. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
started Organic Muscle 10 years ago. It's hard to believe, but we came out with the first ever USDA organic pre-workout. A pre-workout is a supplement that energizes you and helps you perform better and gives you stamina for your workout. And now when I started my health journey and my fitness journey, I was taking these conventional pre-workouts, and anyone out there who's taken one knows that these energy drinks and pre-workouts can make you feel like you're on drugs or something, like crazy heart palpitations, itchy skin, just feel horrible. So one day I took one of these pre-workouts and just had a really negative reaction and thought I was dying. I almost called 911 on myself because I was so scared. And after that experience, I started looking for a healthy pre-workout and there was none on the market. So I was like, I became obsessed with the idea. I was like, why don't I just make one? This is something I personally want to use. My friends wanted to use it. So I became so obsessed with the idea that I couldn't sleep. And eventually it just kind of happened. I was so inspired. It was like, I didn't have to make myself do it. It was
Mm.
almost like it was my destiny to do this. So it's pretty cool.
Oh wow, I love that. And how did you, when you started like looking into health and like your health and nutrition and that side of things, how did you go about that? Because I'd imagine it could sometimes be a little bit overwhelming of all the
Oh,
information out there.
there's so much information, and there's contradicting information too.
Mm.
So I'm a big believer in experimentation. I've experimented with every diet under the sun, carnivore, animal-based, vegan, keto, vegetarian. I've done it all. And I really believe for everyone, we all have unique constitutions, and it's good to see what works for you. But it also does take time, like to really, people will try a diet for a week and go, I didn't really like that one. Your gut microbiome is completely different if you're on a vegan diet or a carnivore diet, right? Your gut flora, the digestive process is different for different types of food. So I'd encourage everyone to this is kind of a lifelong thing, and this experimentation and taking notes and reflecting on how you feel when you eat different foods. And I just really feel like there's so much value in a genuine experimentation for your health, because what works for you might not work for someone else. So I did a ton of experimentation, and I found what works really well for me, where I feel amazing, where I'm fit, where I'm strong, where I'm, muscular. And I feel like it's important to me as well to have a diet that helps the world in some way, because these toxic farming practices we see in non-organic kind of big agriculture are really destructive for our health and for the environment, for the animals, everything.
And it sounds like a big part of your journey was like self-awareness in turn, or coming back to oh, how does this make me feel? And logging
Yeah.
that very regularly.
Well, that's just life in general, right? We could be on autopilot or we could be conscious. I've gone through a lot of life on autopilot, where you're just kind of going through the motions and not really being aware of your actions and how they're impacting you and how you're impacting others. So I think everything in life comes down to your state of consciousness and awareness.
It's super interesting. I like to log every single day at the back of my journal, oh, how would I score myself today into the feeling, and then note the routines. And
Yeah.
now and then I might have had a weekend where it's oh, I'm gonna have a couple of treats, and maybe they were sugary, and that's not an everyday diet. I like to eat my, generally natural foods and stuff like that, but I have a treat, but then I'll notice oh, I'm a bit brain foggy after that. It's probably
Yeah.
not a coincidence.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm a true believer in self-auditing when it
Mm.
comes to diet and to every single area of life. And not to get religious or anything, but I'm a big believer in God and stuff. And I have a podcast called The Jesus Way. It's not about religion, it's about the history of the original Christian movement. But something that was so important to them is repentance. And I think of repentance more as a self-auditing, like being honest with yourself, being really honest about what you're doing and your actions and how you're speaking and what you're eating, everything. It's honesty. So at the end of every day, I just sit in my bed and I'll sit there for 30 minutes and just think about my day. What did I do? How did I do it? What kind of attitude did I have? What did I eat? Was I conscious, or was I just in full gluttony mode? And I think that is really one of the keys to life, starting your mornings and evenings with just honest assessment of your life and the thoughts you're thinking and the things you're doing. Because if you're not doing that, you're just on autopilot. You're just going through the motions. You're almost like a slave to your brain.
Mm.
You're a slave to your patterns instead of taking control. So yeah, that's a roundabout way of saying yes, it's important.
Self-auditing. I love what the practices you're putting in place each morning and evening. And yeah, with a change in your nutrition and your journey, did you notice a benefit or a change mentally as well as physically?
For sure. Well, it just builds your confidence so much to not be on autopilot anymore. As I said, you feel helpless when you're on autopilot. And when you start documenting and you start really thinking about your actions and you start seeing success or momentum, that builds confidence. I say a lot, life is all about momentum, and just small changes can make a big difference. And I think for a lot of people who are really struggling with their weight or their physique or their health, a big part of the issue is they don't have any momentum, or they have negative momentum. They're just stuck. And we've all been there. Lord knows I've been there. So I like to tell people, if you feel stuck, do something just to build some positive momentum. It could be a very small thing. For instance, if you're overweight and you want to lose weight, I think it's a bad idea to be all right, I'm going to go to the gym every day for an hour now,
Mm.
because you're setting the bar too high and you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. However, what you could do to build some positive momentum is go drink a glass of water. do 5 push-ups and 5 air squats. What do you got now? You got positive momentum. That feels good.
Mm.
Now, and then you could build on that the next day. I'm going to do 10 push-ups, 10 air squats, and I'm going to drink 2 glasses of water. I'm just going to pound a bunch of water. That's manageable. And you did that. You're like, okay, I'm building momentum, and so on and so forth till it gets to years down the road and you're just crushing it, you know? So every day I just try and think in terms of what can I do right now to build a little bit of momentum, whether it's for work, whether it's for my health or physique, whether it's for my relationships. And that has served me well.
I love that, because I know it can be quite overwhelming to someone who could be in a place. I've been in places where mentally it's like things are really tough, really like quite dark. You don't see like the positives in life. And then it's just, I remember Brendan Bouchard talking about it as a high performance and saying a win for you could be like, you know, having a shower, going for a walk, and
Yeah,
those like really small things, and then building the momentum.
exactly. It could literally be taking a deep breath, taking one deep breath. That's good. That was good for you. You just oxygenated your body. You know, most people are breathing shallow all the time anyways. So it can be so simple. There's really so many different things we can do to build positive momentum. Then it's also being aware of the little things that build negative momentum, right? So again, it all comes back to awareness.
And is that something you capture in the end of your audits? It's like, what's maybe not gone so well today with those negative.
Oh yeah,
Mm,
that's so important. You could
mm,
see where you slipped up. You know, a lot of times it's like even like saying something I wish I didn't say. I should have held my tongue there. I could have approached this situation better. I could have been more loving here. I could have stood my ground here. And it's not from like a self-flagellating position. It's more of like, okay, I learned. And I'm a big believer in not beating yourself up. I think shame and guilt can be very unhealthy and destructive. But again, it's awareness, loving awareness. Oh, I made a mistake. Awesome. I just learned something. I just learned something about myself and how to move forward. I think that's the healthiest attitude to review repentance, which is like really become this loaded term, right? It's like, I gotta like destroy myself, and it has very negative connotations, but for me it's like a loving awareness of your actions and your thoughts.
Transferring this over to sort of like, you've obviously started a business and a supplement company. Was this something, did you kind of take that perspective to just building a supplement company by just taking these bits of momentum? Was that a similar approach?
Yeah, for sure. It applies to every single area of
Mm,
life and especially business. And, you know, I've had a crazy business journey because I started this company when I was young. You know, I was 23, 24, and I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea who I was. I was just figuring things out. But it's an amazing process. That's how you learn, you know, throwing yourself into the lion's den. And there was a lot of pain and suffering and failure. I've failed so many times. One thing I could say I'm proud of myself for is just not giving up, because I've had every hurdle imaginable thrown at me. I mean, my business partner died. I've lost people. I've struggled immensely and kept going, and I've found great success, you know, and built incredible relationships. And I think really changed the supplement industry. There was never an organic pre-workout before we started. Now the whole market, the whole industry, there's more and more brands and more consumer demand for clean supplements. So I like to think we were a part of that. So it's been an incredible journey, and I really just want to encourage everyone who's starting a business just to not give up, learn from your mistakes, and it's okay to fail. Every single person who's ever run a business has made the most horrific mistakes imaginable constantly, but it's okay. It's part of the process. Like, and it's a reminder to myself because, you know, there were periods where I would really beat myself up, and it actually prevented me from learning from really, it was, you know, it wasn't helpful. It's more helpful to document it, to journal about it, and to learn, but there's no need for the guilt and the shame for the mistakes you make in business.
mm. I was going to ask you, James, on your perspective on the person who might be like, I want to do this, but there's a high chance of, but they're feeling like they're going to fail.
Good. I mean, dude, there's been every incredible person in the
Mm,
history of the world has failed. They've been beaten and bloodied by life. but this is what creates incredible people. Imagine a movie about someone who just succeeded at everything they did. That
Be
would be the
boring.
most boring movie of all time. It's our trials and tribulations that build our character and make us interesting and compelling. I mean, that's what would even be the point of life if it was just perfect and there was no failure. So I think embracing that is a key to success. Like we got to be real. You're gonna fail, and that's good. It's a reorientation.
If you know it's coming and not fearing the thing that's going to show up anyway. Love
It's a
that.
superpower if you can embrace it. And a lot of the most successful businessmen, they value failure. They see it as a lesson, which is like it's a gift. You've learned something. What a beautiful gift.
I often think when you think it's not going to work, well, it may or may not do, but doing the same thing you're doing stuck is definitely not going to work. So if that's
Yeah.
keeping you stuck, that's what I always think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, gotta experiment. Like with diet, you do it with business too, and document and meditate on it. Really think about it. You know, my one of my best friends, his father is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, super successful guy. He literally came from nothing. Like didn't have a pot to piss in, was an immigrant. And my friend, my friend's very successful too, but he'll make fun of his dad and be like, he's so weird. He'll just sit in a room and not be watching TV, not be looking at his phone. I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? He's like, just thinking. And I'll do it for hours. And he calls it thinking time. And I think it's a key to his success. Like he really just sits there and thinks without distraction, which is so hard for people nowadays, myself included. Like even the idea of that kind of scares me. But like sitting and thinking is like our superhuman. It's like an incredible tool that we don't use. We're always like, oh, let me ask ChatGPT. Let me do this. Let me do that. I mean, our mind is such a gift, and we're outsourcing that to technologies. I really think that I'm talking to myself now too. It's something I need to do more, but I think there's so much value in just sitting and thinking about life without distraction.
I think that you've reminded me as well to do more of that. Even I
Yeah.
used to schedule 20 minutes in silence, and the things that sometimes come to me, I needed obviously a bit longer. I'd be like,
Yeah.
wow, never would have thought of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the answer you could be looking for is just you just need silence.
one of the crazy that is such a hard skill, like just to sit there and think, wow, with this day and age of all distractions, it kind of makes sense. But yeah, I remember someone telling me that some of the big thought leaders, like these huge names out there, like the Elons and people, were scheduling time to think every single day. So super interesting you said that
Yeah.
about your friend's dad. That's awesome.
Hmm.
James, what like someone embraces like that they're gonna go into like business or into an area of life and yeah, there's gonna be failure and then they jump into it and then they're at a time where it's so intense, it's really going against them and they're really struggling. In that perspective, how would you kind of look at it?
Like how to kind of mentally or like a mindset for when life is really hard and business is really difficult.
Yeah, just maybe how you sort of like maybe bounce back or what you would think of in that time. Because I know sometimes people feel like it's really against them. So kind of what you can think of or do in that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, it's part of life. And I think accepting that life can be hard is important. And if there's anything we can do, it's not falling into victimhood. You know, some of the Stoic philosophy is really useful. But I mean, I've faced, there's been moments where I thought we'd go out of business. There was moments where I'm mourning the death of my best friend and business partner and trying to run the business and bills are due and I'm just like it can be really hard. And for me, what helped me get through it was a faith in God, a belief that all of this serves a purpose, that we're here to cultivate character and to learn to love each other. Really, the hard times really were a blessing because it built my faith and my deeper connection with the source. And I'm actually really grateful for the hard times now, as devastating and as brutal and as painful. So, and the other gift it gave me is that now I know when things are tough, there's this seed of a blessing in it. I'm learning, I'm becoming stronger. I'm becoming more compassionate. It's really broke my heart open to other people too, because I have compassion for what people are going through because I've been through so much pain, you know? So it can be a gift. If you use it, you could either spiral into victimhood and anger at the world, anger at God, anger at other people, or you could use it to just kind of crack your heart open and make make you grateful for the good times, make you grateful for the people in your life. And it can really build your faith. And the way I think of faith is that it's a deep inner conviction that God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, a deep inner conviction that at the core of the universe is pure goodness, that everything is good. Even if what I see around me is painful and bad, that all that serves a purpose. It's all part of this grand orchestra of life. So that's how my view has evolved over the years, going through various trials and tribulations, and it really building who I am. And I can see in hindsight the purpose of it all.
I love that. Are there any faith like practices you find useful for yourself to kind of like connect to that regularly?
Yeah. I have a whole podcast about this. If
Mm.
anyone wants to check it out, it's called The Jesus Way. It's on my friend Aaron Abke's YouTube channel. And again, it's not a religious thing. We take a philosophical outlook. Like we're trying to do something very different. You know, there's a million churches out there and different podcasts talking about the theology and doctrine of Christianity. We get into the philosophy of the way of Jesus, like the deep spiritual teachings and how to actually implement that in a pragmatic way in your life. So self-auditing is a huge part of it. Also, service to others. I think a lot of the times when we're depressed and sad, a great tool for helping that is just simply being kind and generous to other people and going out, and you don't need much to go and help the poor. And it gets the attention off yourself and your own problems, and you can go see what other people. A lot of people don't have a roof over their head. They don't have food to eat, and you could go bring some joy into their life by genuinely being kind to them. You could give them a protein bar. You could give them, you could order socks online in bulk for like not much money and give out socks, and it makes people so happy. There's a million things you could do, and I'll tell you what, it really puts your own problems in perspective, and it's one of the greatest spiritual gifts you could give yourself because it just reorients you to what's actually important. So there's that. Fasting is really beneficial for clearing the noise and clearing the vessel. And I'm a huge proponent of being healthy as part of the spiritual path because if like we're antennas, like we're the temple of God. And if our mind and body is really polluted and unhealthy, I feel like that signal gets significantly diminished.
Mm.
So the inspiration, the thoughts from God, like that communication, we want as clear of a signal as possible to get through this challenging experience that is life, because we get, I believe, inspiration from the Holy Spirit that keeps us going and helps us navigate crises and helps us navigate relationships and all these things. So being healthy allows you to hear that voice and also to be of service to others, because think about how difficult it is to go out and build a business and to help your family, to help anyone when you're fat, sick, or dying or have a disease. Then other people need to help you, you know? So it takes you from serving to needing. And it's a tough pill to swallow, especially in modern Christianity, because there's so much obesity and sickness, and in a lot of religions. But really, I'm in America, and Christian's a broad term. Like I won't get into that conversation right now, but my goal is to help people see that health is really a fundamental part of spirituality, because when you're unhealthy, you're in a state of fear, right? You're in a state of lack, and you're not, God put us all here to share our gifts with the world. God gave us all a potential and a gift to give to the world. So when we destroy our bodies, we're basically reneging on that gift. So that's kind of the paradigm I view it through. I really think focusing on your health as a means to being of service in the world is really important. And it's such a gift to have life. And it's such a gift to have a body. And I feel like also making your body beautiful. It's like if your parents got you a canvas to make art on and you just kind of like, smear your boogers on the canvas as opposed to making a beautiful piece of art that you really pour your heart into and you care a lot about, which one honors your parents more? The same thing with our body. It's the same thing. We honor God by caring for our body and becoming a vessel to be of service in the world.
Makes a lot of sense. You can't serve when you're not looking after yourself. You can't give that your gifts and your service if you've not got that energy, you've not got that vitality about you, and it's full of sickness. Makes a lot of sense when you say that, James. And you mean when you say fasting, both physically and mentally?
Yes, totally. Yeah, mental dieting is something I talk about a lot, which is fasting from certain thoughts. Even for 5 minutes, you go, hey, I'm doing a mental diet. I'm not going to entertain any toxic thoughts for 5 minutes. When one comes up, you just go, not right now, I'm not eating that. Throw it out of your mind. And then when you could do it for 5 minutes, then you try 10 minutes, then 30 minutes, and you start to establish sovereignty over your mind, right? And then the same goes for physically. I think that discipline and that renunciation is really powerful. And fasting from food or certain types of food, it opens the channel, like the inspiration. If you're in a really tough position in life, I think a fast can be one of the most beneficial things you could do because you'll get the answers to help you with your problem. If you fast and pray for answers, I guarantee you it will come. If not during the fast, then right after it.
I love that. James, thank you so much for this guidance you've given us around like health and obviously having like faith when we're in like these rough places and sitting with ourselves. I know you've got your other podcasts. I know you offer a ton of services. You got your supplement company as well for those wanting to add to their nutrition.
Yes.
Where's the best place for the listeners to find you, to reach out or get some of your services? And also, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with today?
Well, I really enjoyed this podcast. Thank you so much for having me. And if you want to find me, you can find Organic Muscle at organicmuscle.com. We're also in the Vitamin Shop in the US. We're big on Amazon. My podcast is The Jesus Way on Aaron Abke's YouTube channel, and it's also on Spotify. And then if you want to connect with me personally, Instagram is good, at James Benefico. And I try to get back to everyone. We get a ton of messages from the podcast, but I do my best to talk to whoever wants to chat.
Amazing. Thank you, James. Yeah, and you can grab all of those below in the show notes, including getting in touch with James or checking the podcast out on the YouTube channel and obviously the supplements as well. So a massive thank you, James.
Thank you, Johnny. It's been a blessing. Thanks.
You too. All right, so that concludes our episode for today. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.